call you in the streets?
Well, my government name is Andre Lewis, but in the streets they call me Gizmo. Jacksonville, North Carolina, straight out of the hood, a dewdrop.
Well, how long you been home so far?
I've been home a little bit over a month.
What was your sentence before you came home?
My sentence was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 5 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah. But with time off, it brought it down, so I just really did probably 5.5, 6 years.
So what was you locked up for?
Armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, and possession of a firearm by a felon.
So how much time have you given to the system thus far?
When I calculated it all together, 23 years and 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
That's not even counting the training school time when I did as a juvenile. So we still say probably 30 plus.
So about what age were you introduced to the criminal justice system?
Right after my granddaddy died, around about 11, 12 years old. My grandfather, he was like my cornerstone. He was my cornerstone. And you never compare nobody to the Most High, but in my mind, that was my Most High. And when that was taken away from me, I really can't explain what it did to me, but it pushed me in a direction where it put a whole lot of hatred in my heart because I felt like he was supposed to still be there. So with that being said, I didn't have that cornerstone no more, that father figure to look up to, and I went looking for that in the streets.
So tell me, what are some of the things that you learned while you were incarcerated that you brought out with you in your aspirations for growth and development?
One of the main things that I learned that I feel is patience. And patience with self.
Okay, explain, elaborate.
Because
I think that's very important.
Everybody, when they say patience, they want to have patience to get money, to be successful. But the main thing is you have to have patience with self in order to grow. Because it takes time to grow. It takes time to elevate. It definitely takes time to get your mind right. Because you cannot change a situation with the same thoughts that you had in the past. So it takes time to reinvent those thoughts, to change those thoughts. So patience is the biggest thing, man.
Right on. I always say, man, time is our greatest asset, right?
Indeed.
Because you don't know what you don't know until you have an opportunity to know it. You know what I mean? So, the rules of engagement and the intricacies and the things that we need in order to survive recidivism as ex-offenders, and it's something that you have to develop hands-on. So I commend you for getting in tune, because that is definitely part of the process. Yeah, you done hit the ground 100 miles running.
Cause you can't come out here depending on nobody. Even though I got my brother, his wife, a couple people that is rooting for me. But everybody still got their own life.
Facts.
And I can't always depend on them. Really, you can only depend on self. So I had to come out here, hit the ground running.
So what's been your greatest obstacle, adversity, or what have you had some hardships in regards to trying to adjust to? I know you've checked a lot of things off your checklist pretty fast. That typically takes guys a little bit longer, but that's a testament to your diligence. You know what I mean? So, but what are some of the little things that you can kind of pay forward to the other guys that might be transitioning back in, like you're having a situation with your transportation right
man. Now. That's one thing, man. Having to, especially when you got a job, you want to keep that job. When I came home, I think within a week, I had a job.
Right on.
And the transportation, man, having to, you might have to pay somebody, or even if you don't have the means to pay somebody, you still got to rely on somebody to take you back and forth to work. So the transportation was one of the biggest things that I'm dealing with right now. Hopefully, I have that, pretty much sold up.
I think it's very important that we point out to people, man, that as you try to survive recidivism and transition back into the community, you're gonna face a lot of adversity and obstacles. You know what I mean? So society still has its public perception, and there's not much that we can do to change the public perception or the social attitudes of the masses. However, our ways and actions and our diligence has the means to change personal perception. So the people that we encounter on our jobs, when we go on looking for these resources, the way we carry ourselves, our attitudes, our energy, that's all paying that energy forward and paying that perception forward. One of the things that we say over here with what we do is that we make our will more powerful than our won't, right? So when you come out here, you know, trying to survive recidivism again, you're gonna be searching for a yes and a C or no's for a lot of different things. And the first thing you have to be comfortable with is being uncomfortable. And so, for instance, if you are, you know, blessed enough to find an opportunity to work, you know what I'm saying, one of the first things that you have to get in your mind is that that's my priority, and whatever I gotta do to get to square one, I'm willing and humble enough to do. If your job is 3 hours away and you can't find no transportation, you better utilize them 2 legs you've been letting rest on the shelf. You know what I mean? So if you got to be to work at 7, that means you need to wake up at 4.
Yeah.
And you need to start trooping it until some young pretty ladies see you walking up and down that road and stop and say, hey, you need a ride?
Yes, I do.
Let me ask you this. How would you define remaining resilient? Like, what is your interpretation of that? And if you could tell these ex-offenders or these youth that could potentially be, you know, going down the same road that we've already traveled, you know, what are some words of wisdom that you would like to leave them, and how do you define the concept of remaining resilient?
I define it as staying focused and staying firm, because if you don't have a vision, then you're gonna be lost. Don't let the little things get you off track. You got to stand firm on your square.
No distractions.
No distractions. You got to have a plan for a plan for a plan.
Strategy.
True indeed. Because if you don't, you're gonna swerve back into that lane that you was in before, and you're gonna end up right behind them doors, behind them bars. So like I say, man, you got to keep your mind focused. Find little things, you know, like I brought things from prison out here in society that helped me remain focused when I was in there. And to people that's never been in there, it may mean nothing to them.
Yeah,
but
so give us an example of that.
Like for instance, I stay here, you know, I stay at the house by myself, which I have no problem with being away from people, but sometimes, you know, being by yourself, you get kind of bored. And don't get me wrong, I have had them thoughts of like, boy, I can just go out here and that thing on, get me a drink, mingle in the streets, knowing I'm gonna end up getting into something. But instead of doing that, like when I was in prison and my mind started gearing towards doing something negative, first thing I do, I go pick up a book.
Right on.
I like to write. I might just start writing something. And those little things right there keep me from stepping outside of my square.
Those are positive distractions.
True indeed.
All right. So what would you what words of wisdom would you leave the other ex-offenders and the youth?
Let you know, man, it ain't easy, but it ain't hard either. You're gonna have to want to do this. You have to be determined to stay out here, man, because one thing about it, they will take that freedom from you real quick. And it's not freedom of the physical, it's freeing your dome, freeing your mind. So always remember, you can be physically locked up, but you can be free out here. But until you actually get out here and free your mind, then you're gonna remain incarcerated for the rest of your life.
Word. So you got a book coming too, right? Yeah. So you know your first official release off Remain Resilient published. Tell us a little bit about the book and the premise of it, and what we can expect.
Well, the book is basically, man, it's me talking to my other me. You know, it's, you know, like I said, my street name was Gizmo, so it's really Gizmo behind bars, building with Andre out in the free cycle. And Gizmo is pretty much telling Andre, listen, you know, this is not what you want to come back to. These are the things that you need to do to stay out here so you won't come back in here with me. Facts.
And that's Scribes Towards Freedom, dropping real soon. Y'all be looking out for that. RemainResilientPublishing.com. And yeah, man, we got a lot coming. Too far to fail.
Definitely.
Too far to fail. So I'm Coach Moke, man, signing out, you know what I'm saying, with the homie Gizmo. And this has been another Too Far to Fail TV production. Yeah, so be looking out. We got many more interviews coming. Peace, power, and progress.
Peace.